Kurt Gerstein risked everything to reveal the horrors of the Holocaust, knowing it could cost him his life. He was a Nazi officer with a dangerous secret. Kurt Gerstein wasn't an ordinary Nazi. While others followed orders blindly, he saw the unimaginable and couldn't stay silent. He uncovered the brutal reality of mass extermination in Nazi death camps and made it his mission to expose the truth to the world. But why would someone working within the Nazi regime risk everything to fight against it? How did he attempt to reveal the atrocities of the Holocaust? What evidence did he find? This is the story of a man trapped inside history's darkest chapter, a man who chose to defy the very system he was part of. And what happened to him as a result is as tragic as it is shocking. Who was Kurt Gerstein, and what made him different from others in the Nazi regime? Kurt Gerstein was born on August 11, 1905 in Münster, Westphalia. His family was Lutheran, stable, respected. His childhood was steeped in faith and tradition, the kind that shaped values and identity. He went on to study mining engineering, earning his degree in 1931. But Gerstein's life would take a predictable path, right? Not quite. In 1933, like many young Germans at the time, Gerstein joined the Nazi Party. He was young, ambitious, and ready to serve his country. But here's where his story takes a turn. His strong Christian faith. The Nazi ideology stood in stark contrast to what he believed, and it didn't take long for his disillusionment to grow. By 1936, Gerstein had reached his limit. He couldn't ignore what he saw or stay silent about what he knew. His opposition was loud, it was public, it was dangerous. The Nazi Party expelled him, arrested him, tried to silence him. But Gerstein wasn't the type to back down. But this wasn't the end of his involvement with the Nazis. Then came 1939. Gerstein rejoined the Nazi Party. Why? Some say it was revenge. His sister-in-law had died under the Nazi euthanasia program. Suspicious circumstances surrounded her death. Others believe it was a calculated move to infiltrate the system from within. By 1941, Gerstein was part of the SS. He worked in their hygiene institute. Officially, he was focused on vermin control and water sanitation, tasks that seemed ordinary. Mundane, even. But his story was far from ordinary. Beneath the surface, something extraordinary was beginning to unfold. What horrors did Gerstein uncover, and how did they compel him to take action? Kurt Gerstein's role in the SS gave him access to the inner workings of the Nazi regime, but nothing could have prepared him for what he witnessed. In 1942, Gerstein was tasked with delivering Zyklon B, a cyanide-based pesticide, to Auschwitz and other extermination camps. Officially, it was for pest control. The truth? It was the tool of genocide. His journey brought him to Belzec and Treblinka, two of the deadliest Nazi death camps. On August 18, 1942, at Belzec, Gerstein witnessed the unthinkable. Approximately 3,000 Jews were crammed into gas chambers, their lives stolen in moments. He watched as Zyklon B was released, ending thousands of lives in a cruel, systematic act of horror. Watching, knowing, helpless. This moment shook Gerstein to his core. He had joined the SS to uncover the truth, but now that truth was a nightmare. Every detail, the screams, the suffocating silence that followed, etched itself into his mind. But instead of breaking him, it ignited something inside. A resolve. Gerstein knew he couldn't stay silent. What he saw wasn't just evil. It was something the world needed to know about. How did Gerstein plan to reveal the truth, and what obstacles did he face? Gerstein couldn't stand by after what he had seen. He had to act, even if it meant risking everything. His first move was to speak to the outside world. In a rare moment of opportunity, Gerstein met Swedish diplomat Göran von Otter during a train ride. He poured out everything, what he had seen, what he knew, begging von Otter to inform the Swedish government. This was just the start. He reached out to neutral representatives, the confessing church, and even the Vatican, hoping someone would listen and take action. But he didn't stop there. Gerstein took matters into his own hands. He sabotaged shipments of Zyklon B, the chemical used in the gas chambers, delays, disruptions, anything to slow the Nazi killing machine even for a day. The risks? Unimaginable. Every word, every act of sabotage put his life on the line. One misstep could have led to his execution, and yet, even when he succeeded in sharing his reports, many dismissed him. Some thought it was propaganda, others simply didn't care. He is fighting to save lives, only to face disbelief and indifference at every turn. Yet Gerstein pressed on, knowing the stakes were too high to give up. What were the repercussions of Gerstein's defiance within the Nazi regime? Kurt Gerstein's journey was one of courage, but it came with a heavy price. By April 1945, as the war was nearing its end, Gerstein surrendered to French forces. He didn't hold back. He provided detailed reports about the atrocities he had witnessed, everything he had fought so hard to expose. But his defiance didn't grant him freedom. Instead, he was treated as a war criminal. His efforts to sabotage the Nazi regime and warn the world weren't enough to shield him from suspicion. Gerstein was imprisoned, alone, waiting. And then, just a few months later, on July 25, 1945, Kurt Gerstein was found dead in his cell. Officially, it was recorded as suicide, but the truth, that remains unclear. Some believe he couldn't bear the weight of what he'd seen and endured. Others suspect something more sinister. Why is Kurt Gerstein's story significant, and what lessons does it impart? Kurt Gerstein's story didn't end with his death. In fact, his legacy only grew stronger in the years that followed. The Gerstein Report, his detailed account of Nazi extermination methods, became one of the most important pieces of evidence in post-war trials. It shed light on the machinery of genocide, ensuring the truth could never be denied. But his legacy goes beyond the historical record. Gerstein's actions stand as a powerful example of moral courage. He was one man, caught inside one of history's most oppressive regimes, and yet he chose to speak out. He risked everything. His safety, his freedom, his life, for the hope that the truth might save others. And today, his story reminds us of a vital lesson. Silence allows injustice to thrive. Gerstein's bravery shows that even in the darkest times, one voice can make a difference. It's a lesson that echoes through history, a call to speak out, to act, to remember that courage is contagious and it starts with just one person willing to take a stand.